Hello?
Hi, Dr. Hans.
Yes, how are you?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me okay? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I didn't know there was a password, so I was looking for it and I found it finally.
Oh, okay, no problem. Not
Excellent.
at all. So thank you for taking your time to chat with us today. I really appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome. So wanted to give you a little introduction of what I know of you, and I think a lot of people may or may not know you as well. So if you also want to give an introduction as well, I think that would be fantastic.
Sure.
My name is Rejoice, and today we are privileged to have Dr. Hans Boateng with us. We know that Dr. Hans, you're originally from Ghana. Also, you're a pharmacist, and you are also the founder of the investment tutor. Am I correct?
Yes, the investing tutor. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, awesome. So is there anything, I think what we also know is you've been blessed with a beautiful son. Congratulations to your family and yourself. We're very happy for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Is there anything else I'm missing or you want to add to the introduction?
No, I guess I will go into a little bit about my story, my background, but essentially I think you've covered pretty much everything.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So we're gonna dive right into the questions. The purpose of us having this interview is because I'm sure you're aware, and all of our viewers are aware as well. We're all kind of dealing with the COVID-19 situation, and many people are just looking for inspiration. They're looking for hope, and also they're looking for advice in terms of what to do, as we're all kind of figuring out our new lifestyle online. So our first question for you, Dr. Hans, would be, what is your career and your responsibilities in terms of what are you currently, are you a practicing pharmacist or are you a full-time investor? We're curious.
So, very, very good question. So I run my business full time. So I'm the investing tutor full time. And as I said in the beginning, wanted to give you a little brief synopsis overview as to my background. So born and raised in Ghana, West Africa. And, I often remember growing up, my parents came if you want to be successful, if you want to be rich, if you want to be successful, you want to become a doctor, lawyer, or an engineer, right? And
Right.
typically, African kids, immigrants, we listen to our parents. So I made a mental note that that's what I was going to do, to become one of those professions. But my mom was like, Hans, as for you, I know you very well. You should be a doctor. So I filed that away in my mind and I said, okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
I looked into becoming a medical doctor, and it was quite obvious that that wasn't something I wanted to do, specifically because I didn't like the whole concept of dealing with blood and things like that. And when I looked at the MCAT exam, I was like, no way, I'm not doing that. So I wanted to look for another way to get into the healthcare or the medical profession, and another way able to get the title doctor. That's how I found out about pharmacy, and I pursued that route. Now, I then tell the story of how when I got into pharmacy school, a mentor of mine, a millionaire, he noticed that I was very inspired about success. I was inspired by being able to build wealth, having financial freedom, financial stability. And he asked me to read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I did. And the book, the first chapter states that the rich don't work for money.
Right.
And I was like, wow, okay. So I thought everyone works for money. And that was like the starting point of my life completely shifting. Because I started to say to myself, I was always brought up to follow these concepts, work hard, save as much as you can. Debt is bad. Investing is risky. The general concepts. And all of a sudden I was like, no, let me pay attention to rich people who are doing.
Right.
And let me learn from them. All of a sudden I began to read. I began to get around these types of individuals. And slowly my life changed. So I went through pharmacy school, and even throughout my education, I found myself learning more about investing, personal finance, the economy, businesses, way more than I was even about pharmacy.
Wow.
Yep, 100%. Yep. So my journey with regards to personal finance started a very long time ago, probably 2009, 2010-ish.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
right about the crash.
I know. And even around that time, I didn't even know a market crash was happening because I didn't know about the economy. I was starting to learn. So I was still very new. So I didn't even know all of what was going on, which should even tell you, So fast forward, I went through pharmacy school. When I graduated, I got the opportunity to do an MBA.
Okay.
When I finished the MBA program, I started work with a consulting firm in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Before that, I was working part-time as a pharmacist, but then I did the MBA and I wanted to transition into the healthcare side of business. I used to tell myself I want to be a healthcare executive, right?
I see.
So I did that. I was working in a consulting firm, and after about 5 months of working there, they laid off 90% of the workforce.
Wow.
And I was one of the people who was blessed to have been laid off. And I say blessed because when things happen to you, when things happen, most people just react. They don't realize that sometimes certain things happen to kind of push you towards your destiny. And for me at that time, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take this time to figure out what's next. And that was when I created the Investing Tutor business.
Awesome.
Yep. Because at that time, I realized that most immigrants and most minorities, we aren't told or we aren't taught anything about money.
Right.
You're only told to work for money.
Right.
Most people, they boast about how they are making, this amount of money per hour.
Right.
I don't look at the money I'm paid per hour because I don't want to be paid per hour. If I'm paid per hour, then it means that I have a fixed income.
Correct.
People don't realize that they are happy to be paid X amount of dollars per hour. I don't know.
Right.
Even thinking about it is getting me a little
I can tell.
Yeah, like an hour? No. I can't be paid by the hour. No.
Right.
So once you just begin to understand these kind of like new concepts, it begins to kind of shift who you are as a person. And that's kind of what it's done to me. So then I wanted to begin teaching this to immigrants. I wanted to begin teaching it to minorities, and honestly, anyone. But I like saying immigrants and minorities because we are the people who have been disregarded. When I say disregarded, no one is talking to us. Right. No one is understanding life is like to be an immigrant, right? To have a lot of debt because you weren't born into a rich home, right? You had to take out debt to go pursue that education, right? Meanwhile, some financial advisors, some financial experts are saying, oh, debt is bad. Don't borrow any money. You don't understand what it's like. So then I wanted to speak to these individuals to educate our generation and let them know and let them understand that we are told to work for money, but it's time that we learn about money.
Right.
If you learn about money and you understand money, you're golden. Like, I cannot begin to share with you how my life has drastically changed because I shifted my mindset around money. And many people haven't done that. And so that's kind of like my background and my story, giving you an idea of how I got to where I am right now. Right. And I'm not even sure if I answered the first question, so please repeat it again. Because
no, I think you have. Okay. The question, we wanted to find out, because you're a pharmacist. And
So I don't work as a pharmacist.
Not at all.
No,
okay,
no.
Got it.
I'm not paid per hour.
Well, thank you for clarifying that for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not paid by the hour. No way.
We appreciate that. So I guess our next question would be, a lot of pharmacists that are kind of in the same situation, or even folks who are similar to my background, where we're kind of considered middle class, but we have a good job. We get paid by the hour. We feel like we're okay.
Yep.
But now there's like a, COVID situation where like, are we really going to sit home and do nothing? We're very motivated. We want to do something. What kind of advice do you give to young people who are interested in doing something else instead of waiting for our jobs to be running again and so forth?
Yeah, I want you all to take a look at the situation with this COVID crisis, let's call it that, and think of it as a blessing because it's giving you a glimpse into the future.
Right.
And that future is that you're going to get to a certain point in your life where you wouldn't have the capacity or the ability to work.
Right.
And when you get to that point, what happens to your income? Right. Once again, when you are thinking about trading time for money, then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, because I don't trade time for money, I make money whether COVID is going on or not. It doesn't impact my income. Right. So then view this as an opportunity for you to begin to realize that you have to set certain assets in place, or you have to set certain vehicles in place so that those vehicles can generate income for you. So how do you go about doing that? There are numerous ways to be able to set things up to be able to generate income. To me, I think the easiest thing that everyone should have, investments. That's the easiest thing. And the reason why I'm going to that first is because with an investment, it doesn't require your time. It doesn't require your supervision. It doesn't require your energy. It doesn't require anything. All it requires, though, is your initial understanding of where to invest. That's where people kind of make the mistake. They think that just because they have money to invest, it makes them investors. Wrong. Wrong.
Mm,
It's false. That's like assuming, just because I'm wearing swim trunks, I can jump into water and start to swim. That's not
right,
how it works. Or
right,
just because there's a car parked in front of my house or home, if you've
right,
never learned how to drive, doesn't make you, capable of being able to drive that vehicle, right?
right.
So the thing with investing, though, is that, it's easy. People have money in their hands, and they're
Right.
like, oh, yeah, my friend told me to buy that investment, or I
Mm,
heard this thing about Bitcoin, so I'm going to go buy Bitcoin. But you don't understand what
right,
that thing is, or you don't understand, okay, you're buying it. What are you buying? How long are you holding it for? What are your expectations?
right.
Many
So,
people haven't looked at any of those things. So
so
having that initial education
okay.
allows you to be able to know, right, if an investment is a good investment, so that when you are going to put money into it, for it to be able to produce or generate income for you in the future, at least you know what you're doing. So that's one, investments. The
So how,
numbers. Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
before you go, I'm just curious, how do we get this education? Is it something online? How do we move forward if we're interested?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I built my business, right?
Right.
And many people, like, they often tell me, okay, Dr. Hans, you learned how to invest by reading books. So is there a book that I can go
Right.
read that's going to teach me about investing? And there really isn't one book you can read to teach you
Okay.
about investing. You cannot learn how to swim. Eventually, you have to jump. You have
Yeah.
to have someone by you in the water,
Right.
right? And telling you this is what you need to do. And it's the same with investing. I didn't only read about investing, I
Right.
had to go out there and try,
Mm,
lose money, sell my investments, rebuy it, go back and forth for like 10 years. Now I
wow.
know exactly what people need to do so that they are not investing in ways that they lose money. They are not putting their money in wrong investments. So I'm saving them all of that time and all of that trial and error. Instead of wasting time trying to figure this out, they
Right.
can just learn in an hour, 2 hours, and they save themselves 10 years of trial and error, right?
Right.
But there are a ton of books. For individuals who still want to go, read books, I tell them, go to Amazon,
Okay.
go click investing and arrange the investing books from the top sellers and go start reading that. I can guarantee you, one, people are going to be confused reading
Right.
those books. And two, at the end of the day, you still need to know, how do I invest?
Correct.
And the books will not walk you step by step and show you that process, right?
Right.
But hey, for individuals who still want something to read, I would say, trying to think of a book that I can think of the top of my head. I guess Rich Dad Poor Dad doesn't tell you how to invest, but it's still that foundational book
Mm,
that I would recommend. Rich Dad Poor Dad.
okay.
Very, very, very good book. Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. That's a really good point that you made. Another question, we have a few questions that people are interested in. So
Sure.
we've been also told, I took a quote from your page. I think you said it very beautifully. Like, now people are realizing that, the common advice that to save only 1,000 and put all your money towards paying debt is not the best advice. I think it fits this current situation so well.
It does.
We're like, oh my goodness, that's not how we're supposed to be doing things.
No.
I guess we're also curious. We've been told to also have emergency funds.
Mm-mm.
So we've been told you get paid X amount of money, you pay your debts, you have money for your, entertainment, and then have an emergency fund if there's something like a situation like this should occur. Do you feel like that's also sufficient, or that's also something that is not a good advice?
Very, very good question. So notice, but before I answer this question, there was one last thing that I wanted to add to the other question that you asked. So I mentioned investments first as the one thing that can produce income.
Right.
The second thing that people overlook is starting some kind of side hustle or business. You can be using or leveraging the internet. And I'm not going to go into that. But people don't realize that the business I even have is simply an online business, right? So then investing is the first way to generate an income. Second is starting a business, okay? Now, to answer this question about emergency funds or, how to look at your finances during this period of time, I want you to look at how you ask the question. You said that when you get your money, you pay your debts, right? And then you have your fund money, right? And then whatever is left, you put towards the emergency fund. That is exactly how people's mentality is shaped. Notice that you didn't say you get your money and you pay yourself first.
No.
You didn't say you get your money and you have a small portion set aside for building wealth for yourself and the next generation. We are conditioned to give our money away. Many people don't realize it, but the whole notion of pay off debt, there's nothing wrong with paying off debt, but it is teaching you inherently to disregard yourself, to give your money away. And I don't like that. I don't like that. 100, no, hell no. You are working hard for your money. A portion of that money is yours to keep. If people don't learn to pay themselves first, they will never, ever be able to build wealth. Because the one thing that I can guarantee you, many people don't realize this. We look at debt as, okay, this huge, horrible thing. Sure, it can be depending on the type of debt that you have. But most people don't realize that in our generation, we're shifting slowly to subscription payments for almost everything. It's now starting. We're not fully there yet, but that transition is happening. So people are so worried about debt, but they don't realize the economy is shifting to a model where we are always paying someone every single month forever. So we are focused on the wrong thing as a generation. You see, you cannot take 1980 advice from, experts then and apply it to this generation, especially if the expert is not willing to understand that things have changed. Economies have shifted. There's so many things happening that didn't happen back then. But to answer your question, emergency funds are very important. Now, the way that I believe everyone to be able to be successful in this generation, what you need to do when it comes to your personal finances is this. And if you follow this template, you'll be very rich, you'll be very successful, and you never have to worry about money. And that's a bold statement, but it's actually true. There are three things that everyone should be doing from day one when they get a paycheck. The first thing that you want to be doing is you want to be saving for an emergency, okay? So a savings account, this is very important. A savings account is not just an account where you dump a ton of money in so that you can look at your account and say, oh, wow, I'm rich.
I've done well.
I'm rich. That is an illusion. I'll explain why it's an illusion. Like, if you look at your bank account, savings account, and it has $40,000 in there, the average person would look at that and say, yes. I'm rich. I will look at that and think you don't have any money. Here's why. Not because of the amount. It's because that amount, if I am to project into your future and ask you, when you stop working at age 65, how long can you live on $40,000? 1 year? So then to me, I look at that amount and I'm like, no. It puts things into context. But people who are looking at that amount now, they have a false sense of security and a false sense of like hope, so to speak. And it's very dangerous. So to me, I say that, okay, you are saving, but you're saving not just to put money in an account so you can stare at it, but you're saving to build an emergency fund or a cushion
Okay.
So that when something like this COVID-19 or this coronavirus happens, you are able to tap into that fund, right, to be able to sustain you. The goal is to be able to have at least 6 months worth of your expenses. That's the goal, 6 months. Now, keep in mind, you are not just building this emergency fund all at once. It is a slow, systematic process.
Right.
So then you get your income, you take a portion of it, you put it towards building that emergency fund. While doing that, there are 2 other things that you need to be doing. Most people ignore these 2 other things, but you have to be doing these 2 other things while also saving. So the first thing is that you're saving. The second thing that you want to be doing is paying down debt.
Okay.
Notice I said paying down debt.
Not everything.
Oh, perfect. You are so smart.
I'm learning.
Rejoice, you're so smart. You're paying attention. I love this.
Yes.
Paying down debt. Perfect. And the third thing that people want to be doing, I'm sure you can guess. What do you think that is? Based on the name of my company, 100%, they want to be investing for the future. Rejoice, this strategy that I've shared with you, it allows you to take care of 3 things simultaneously. When you are saving, you're taking care of the present. So anything that happens unplanned, or anything that happens where it's an emergency, you can take care of that present, okay? Paying down debt is allowing you to take care of the past obligations that you put aside, you have to borrow for, you're taking care of that. And guess what you're doing when you're investing? What are you taking care of? You're taking care of the future. Personal finance is telling people to focus on only the past, pay off debt.
Right.
And they don't even realize the mistake that they are making.
Right. That is very true. That's very true.
They don't realize it. So they tell you just pay off debt. So focus on the past, focus on the past, focus on the past.
Student loans, right?
100%. They tell you that. And then people ignore the future.
Right.
The interesting thing is that because we live life based on our present and our past, that's just human nature. We look at our present and we look at our past on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Because it's right in front of us.
Right.
We don't look ahead. Right. We don't look at, okay, where am I going? Right. What impact does that make? Or am I setting up a comfortable place for that future? Many people don't look at that. Exactly. We're looking at the present and we're looking at our past decisions to say, hey, did we do this right? Did we do that right? Okay. So save, pay down debt, invest for the future. If an individual does these 3 things simultaneously, they are set.
So a question that came up that people are also interested in, it goes along with what you're saying. Investment is a very broad term.
Yep.
So people are wondering, there are many things that we hear out there. People are like, invest in buying property and then flip it, or, engage in that type of world. People are saying, invest in stocks. People are saying invest in businesses that are already running, maybe like a restaurant that needs some kind of asset. And then maybe you could project 5 years from now, you can get some kind of income from it. There's just so many investments that we hear out there. What do you think is best for someone who's a young professional making good money at the age that you're in, and where should they invest?
Okay, perfect. You also forgot to mention African people are told to buy a home in Ghana. Or Nigeria, or wherever they are from, right? So let's start with that. A house is not an investment.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Let's start there. Yeah, a house is not an investment, especially if you live in it, okay? So an investment by definition is something that you are putting money in and your expectation is growth, right, of your capital or appreciation of your capital. The reason why a house in Ghana or a house in Nigeria or wherever it is that you're from is not an investment is because you are planning to live in the house, right? People are not building a house because they want to sell it.
That's a good point. That's such a good point.
it's like, wow. Like, it's like, okay. Another thing I like to say is like, okay, you're building a house, you're thinking you're investing in the house. When you retire, what is your plan? Like, how is the house making you money? It's not. It is costing you money.
Exactly.
So most people don't realize the house is actually doing the opposite of what they are even intending for it to do. But they wouldn't know that because of the, excuse me to say, lack of financial literacy. We haven't learned about money, right? Once again. So to answer your question, what is a good investment? Very simple. There are 3 investment vehicles that I believe every individual needs to have, okay? The first is a retirement plan or retirement account through your employer. If you want to invest, that's where you start. Nothing fancy.
Okay.
You don't start with stocks. Go look at your employer's retirement plan, and that's where a person should start investing. Second, once you've set up that employer retirement plan, and you still have, and you should have some leeway, you should. Right. And then you begin to look at these 2 other investments. The first one is, the second one is an investment fund. Okay. That's where we talk about ETFs, exchange traded funds, or we talk about index funds. Okay. So investment funds. And the third is stocks. Got it. Okay. Notice I said third is stocks.
Third, yes.
Most people come to me, they don't have a retirement account through an employer. They don't have investment funds. And they're like, I want to buy stocks.
Right.
Start.
You're shaking your head.
Yeah.
Miseducated or misleading?
I know. It's like, start with, in Ghana, you see, yedi here and sana why yedi. Or maybe I might have said that wrong, but
it's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
It's good that you're laying out step by step, because sometimes you get advice where folks would just quickly encourage you go in the stock market, and you have no idea what the stock market is.
Yep.
And then you're confused.
That's what 10 years of studying money. That's what it allows you to be able to do.
Exactly.
To be able to give the step by step, right? Remember, for someone who wants to learn how to swim, they need someone standing next to them who understands it. Or someone who wants to drive a car, you need to have someone who is experienced in that arena. And with money, most people view me as the investing tutor, meaning I understand investing. I understand money. Money has been what I've studied for the past 10 to 11 years.
Which is good. Because money evolves around the world. We had a conversation earlier today, and I guess people were, one of the things that came out, we are learning that the COVID-19, people are not necessarily scared that there isn't a vaccine or a cure, but they're really scared about the financial impact to their lives.
And for those people who are scared about the financial impact, it's once again because they don't understand money. A $2 trillion stimulus package was passed, which is literally guaranteeing that individuals will not be impacted.
Exactly.
It literally does guarantee that. How? Exactly. It does that by sending direct checks to people in the mail, right? So a family of 4, right? Husband, wife, 2 kids. That individual is getting $3,400, assuming they are, within the income bracket, which, by the way, 80 to 85% of Americans fall in that income bracket.
That's a good point.
Less than 75K or less than 150K as a couple. So that's the first way individuals are getting money. Second is expanded unemployment. Okay, if COVID has impacted your job in any way, you are guaranteed a paycheck.
Right.
Through unemployment, expanded unemployment. So this isn't like the unemployment where your employer has to approve it. If COVID has impacted your income, you are guaranteed a paycheck. Many people might not know this.
Exactly.
Okay. How else do you, get a source of income? If you've been paying student loans, federal student loans.
Right.
Okay. And well, you might not know this, but now those payments have been waived for 6 months. So if you were paying $500, okay,
Right.
Well, all of a sudden now you freed up $3,000 that you don't need to spend on your student loans, and it's not accruing interest. And if you are in a loan forgiveness plan or an income-based repayment plan, those 6 months count towards your overall life of the loan.
Exactly.
So that's another $3,000. If a person was paying $1,000 a month, they freed up $6,000.
Right.
Maybe some people haven't filed their taxes yet. You might get a refund, right? So you have to follow the money.
Exactly. Exactly. I think a lot of it is, unknown, and then just a few concerns, and also just timing too. People want things right away.
Yep.
And sometimes it just takes time. For example, you mentioned the unemployment situation. I was speaking with someone. They were like, "I've applied, but I haven't got my money yet." It doesn't happen instantaneously.
Instantly, yeah. Take it easy, right? It's free money, for God's sake. Relax. Let them take a week or two or 2.5 to get the money to you. Relax. Yeah.
Exactly. But the main concern is people are living on paycheck to paycheck.
Okay.
So they don't have the emergency funds. So the situation is like panic, panicking. Yeah. So I think what we're learning, or what we're gathering from you right now, is if you had these personal finances in place, there's no need for someone to be panicking.
Yeah. If a person was following the 3 steps that I shared with you,
right,
they wouldn't be panicking at all.
Right.
Because if, to break it down so that person can understand this, let's say that you are earning, let's keep it simple. Let's say you're earning $1,000 a month. And I like to use $1,000 a month, not because the audience listening will be making $1,000 a month. It just makes the math easy for us. Right. So you're making $1,000 a month. And let's say that you're putting $100 into saving, right? So 10% into saving, and you're putting another 10% into investing. Okay. Right. So now that means that you have $800 that you can spend on anything that you want. So if you're someone who doesn't like debt, you can take $300 out of that $800 and put towards paying off debt. It doesn't bother me because you're still investing, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
So now, if we follow this plan, and let's say that person has been working for a year, let's just keep it very simple. They've been working for a year and COVID happens.
Right.
Okay. That person would have $1,200 in their emergency fund.
That's true.
They would have $1,200 in their investment account. I can guarantee you this: if someone is earning $1,000 a month,
right,
it doesn't mean that their expenses is $1,000 a month.
Right.
Maybe their expenses is $200,
right,
or let's even take. So the expenses will be about $200, right? Because it's a portion of that.
Right.
$200. That means that individual now has the ability to live off of just that 1 year, $1,200 for 6 months.
Right.
So with my structure that I've shared with you, if a person has been doing this for 3 years, you can imagine the cushion that they are building in their emergency fund. Now, the one thing I forgot to add is once your emergency fund gets to 6 months or 1 year's worth of your expenses. So if you have enough money to live comfortably for 6 months, or if you have enough money to live comfortably for a year, right? You don't put any more money into a savings account or an emergency fund. There's no point. You want to roll. What you want to do is the money that you were putting towards the emergency fund, at that point, you want to split it into 2. Put half towards investing and put half towards paying off your debt.
Okay. Why?
Because you filled the savings bucket. Okay. Does that make sense?
Got it. It makes sense.
Excellent. Excellent.
I'm taking notes here. I get it. That makes sense. So I think what you said is excellent. And I love that you gave us an example and you broke it down for us. We have people sometimes, I must say, we come from a culture where we have family back home. We need to support,
100%.
You understand how the situation.
Yes.
We have many people asking, well, if I make the minimum wage, and are you talking about people who are middle class, people who are making a ton of money? I make maybe $12 an hour. I can't think about investment. I have to pay bills. I have kids. I have people from back home that are asking me for money. I need to go to Ghana or Nigeria to build a house. What advice do you give them to just change your mindset a little bit, especially during this time, knowing that, you may or may not have a job in 6 months?
Absolutely. First and foremost, that house that they are building, I'm hoping based on this interview, they'll know that it's a waste of their time and money.
I hope so. I really hope so, because it's been a generational thing. And I just don't know where we have that, where we got that idea from, that everybody needs a house.
It's sad because if you find out my plan, you're actually going to be like, wow, why didn't someone really break this thing down? So let me share my plan very quickly. Okay. Imagine investing. Okay. First and foremost, let me share my plan with you in the context of a minimum wage worker. I'm not a minimum wage worker, but I want to share this plan so that the person who's earning $7 an hour, correct, not even 12, 7, they can realize that they can build wealth. Okay, so someone who's earning minimum wage is making anywhere between $1,000 to $1,200 every month, right? Give and take. Okay, let's assume it's 1,000. Once again, I like very simple numbers. Right. Let me ask you this question, Rejoice. Someone earning $1,000, if the person wanted to, that's the core word, regardless of whether they have family back home or whatever. If the person wanted to, can they choose to invest $100 out of that 1,000? Yes. And will this drastically impact their life?
No.
No. I'm glad you agree that this 10%, this $100 is doable, right? Yeah. Okay. Very. So minimum wage worker, this is the key. They have to start early. Okay. Minimum wage worker who starts at age 20. Okay, so 20 years, and they start investing $100 a month. Okay, $100 a month into a simple investment, nothing complicated, very simple. So what do I mean by simple? They are buying the entire US stock market. That's called buying an index fund of the US stock market, okay? That person is investing $100 a month into that US index fund. From age 20 to age 65, Rejoice, do you know how much the person making a minimum wage investing $100, do you know how much they'll have?
How much?
1.1 million.
Wow. 1.1 million.
Yep, 1.1 million. Now let me
amazing.
Let me break down what I was telling you. So now let's imagine the person who was investing the $100 was just a regular immigrant and working minimum wage. Now they move back to Ghana. Yes. Okay. You might not know this. I'm in the financial world, so I know this. A person who has a $1 million portfolio is able to generate 4% on that money. But as for you, you know what treasury bills in Ghana generates. What is that? About 15%, right?
I see.
15% is what treasury bills in Ghana generates. In the US, if you are investing 1 million, it can generate 4% guaranteed. Right. 4% of 1 million is $40,000 guaranteed every year. Okay? Right. If the person was bold enough and took that 1 million to Ghana and purchased treasury bills, they are going to be getting $150,000.
That could build that house overnight.
Not only can they build the house, forget about building the house. The person doesn't need to build a house. Right. What the person is going to do is they are going to buy a home in a gated community like Trasaco. Exactly. And they're not going to pay the money up front because their investments can generate money every year. Exactly. And all they'll do is they'll just be paying maybe, $20K here, every year $20K, or every year $30K, or whatever it is. Right. And they don't even have to bother. Right. And they are living a much richer life than the person who rushed.
Go and create an investment for them.
Exactly. And the difference between the person living in Trasaco is that one, they have a nicer house, but two, they still have an income because their investment is paying the house plus giving them money. in retirement. Right?
So, I mean, it's just a different thought process. We don't get that.
People don't understand it because they haven't learned money. They haven't studied money.
We
right?
don't take the time to really look into that area. And I love that you gave us the breakdown for someone, even a minimum wage of like 7 something an hour, because people always complain, you know, I make less, so I can't do this. I think that's the excuse we hear.
It's an excuse. It's a big excuse. They have money to travel home in December and buy the $1,500 ticket.
Right.
They have money to buy the fancy clothes. They have money to buy the things to go show off to people that they are living well, right? And I'm not saying anything wrong with doing anything like that. You see, and that's the difference. I never judge. I honestly want people to live comfortably, and I want them to be expressive. But my thing is, put 10% aside for building wealth for yourself. Put 10% aside for investing, understanding you owe it to yourself and the next generation.
Right. Absolutely.
We really do. You know, we come to country, we work hard, work. I look around, and I share this often, at individuals who are in their 60s and 70s who are immigrants.
Yeah.
They worked so hard. They bought they bought the really nice cars. They bought the really nice houses. They built homes in Ghana and all across. But right now, they cannot stop working.
They can't stop, yeah.
They cannot stop working. And that is 99% of our immigrant population or our African population. Wouldn't you agree? 99% of them. 99 is a scary number.
It is. It is.
They cannot stop working because we were never taught that a portion of our money should go to build us an asset that's able to generate us income in retirement. And that's what I'm trying to bring to our generation, the awareness that, you know what, they didn't teach us this.
Right.
But now that Dr. Hans is sharing this, and I honestly feel like this is a calling, right?
It's true.
Most people are like, hey, you have a pharmacy degree, you're earning over $100,000 a year. Why aren't you doing that? Well, my first response is that $100,000 is not enough.
You're like, you should be satisfied with being a farmer. Yes, I get it.
I know. 100,000 is not enough, especially not for me. You see, most people, and this is why people have a limitation on their life. And I know this is shifting off, but I feel like someone needs to hear this. Whenever you think about just what you need and what your family needs, you are limiting yourself. You have to be able to ask yourself, how can I impact other people's lives?
Exactly.
Can you do that with 100,000? Can you impact communities? Can you impact multiple generations? Can you impact friends who need you? Most people can't say that. So then they'll be comfortable with 100 because they are looking at just them. And God works in mysterious ways because God knows that, you know, for someone to selfishly be just thinking about themselves, then he's not going to give you the drive and the ambition and the vision to be able to go out and then acquire more. But once you are someone who is like, no, I want to help more people, which is truly at my core what I want to do. So 100 is not enough.
Exactly.
You know, so then all of a sudden you begin to look at ways and avenues to be able to expand. And once that expansion comes, anyone who seeks something, you will find it. Even the Bible says it, right?
Right.
So then when I started to seek, okay, how do I, do more? How do I build more wealth? How do I have more abundance in my life? How can I give more? Once I began to ask myself those questions, it led me down a path that allows me to be able to do that. And, you know, God has been good. He's
awesome.
Been good.
Awesome. We thank you for sharing that. We also you shared about investments from your tutoring section. Do you normally use a specific platform to teach? folks, or how does that work? I'm just curious.
Yeah, my tutoring is really simple. I just use my phone.
Okay.
It's really, really simple. Yeah, my phone, and I ask individuals to get on, on their laptop. And what I do is I just show them, okay, this is what you need to know. This is what you need to know. So there isn't a particular, a specific platform, but it's their ability to be able to speak with someone and show them step by step what they need to know. Life is so interesting. A lot of it just shows you how growth happens.
Right.
When I started my business 3 years ago, I remember it like it was yesterday. To have a one-on-one private tutoring session with me was probably like $300.
Okay.
And clients who worked with me back then, which was I think 2.5 years or something.
Yeah.
$300. I worked with them. It was like a 3-hour session or 2-hour session.
Got it.
Then slowly, gradually, we began to increase from there. Right. I've gotten to the point now where my tutoring sessions last about 1.5 to 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but now they are $2,000.
Got it.
So there's been that growth.
Supply and demand, right?
There's been that growth. Demand. And it's also providing a ton of value. I mean, how much would you pay a person who is like honestly sharing 10 years worth of information that's allowing you to be able to build generational wealth, right?
Exactly.
And we'll probably look at this recording 2 years from now and say, hey, it was started in 2000. Hey, that was cheap, right?
That was so amazing, right?
I know. But what I've also done is I've created online programs that allow individuals to be able to get in right at a lower price point, right? So the lowest product I have is about $150. It gives people kind of like a crash course on the stock market. Okay. I also have right now this year, at least, I don't think the pricing for this is going to change. It's called generational wealth coaching, right? Okay. So then clients are able to join me for an entire year where they are learning my videos and my weekly messages and things of that nature. And they literally go through the entire year studying and learning all about money, investing, the economy, all of that. And that product, the generational wealth coaching product, is a $300 product. So the people who are doing the private tutoring are clients who have thousands of dollars that they want to invest. And it's okay for them, right?
Right.
But for individuals who are beginning, at least there are these entry-level products or services that's able to meet them where they are.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to make sure I have clarification. So the $2,000 is a month for private, right? Private tutoring.
So the $2,000 is a 2-hour one-on-one tutoring session.
Okay, got it.
Yes, and it goes over precisely what a person needs to know about. Remember, I told you there are 3 types of investments that everyone should have. There's retirement account, then there's investment funds, and then there's stocks.
Right.
So the private tutoring is going over investment funds and stocks because included in the private tutoring is a detailed course that goes over retirement investing. Okay. So an individual is getting all 3 of those essential must-haves.
In that class.
In that private tutoring class, precisely.
Okay, awesome. So, I guess, when they're ready to invest, I guess I'm just curious, when after the tutoring or the classes have been completed and when they're ready to invest, do you also show them step by step, or do you give them advice, or are they on their own? How does that work?
Yeah, so I believe in teaching a person how to fish, right? So that they can fish their entire life. I like to say that if I was a bad teacher, then I'll teach someone and they'll always have to be coming to ask me, Dr. Hans, what do I do? Dr. Hans, what do I do? The last thing I want is more work for myself. So I'm a very good teacher or an instructor or a tutor or an investment consultant, whatever you'd like to call me. I'm really good at what I do, to the point where after I go through a session with a client, they have now been provided the knowledge, skill, and expertise that they need to manage their investments for the rest of their lives. That is why I'm able to charge that amount for that service, because
Awesome.
it's literally like paying once to learn what you need to know for the rest of your life.
Nice, nice. I think you have given us a ton of knowledge today, and we love your story. I think more people need to hear this message. And one thing I would like to share with you, I have a couple of friends in the pharmacy career, and a lot of them, they've been telling me that they're looking for a way to, I guess, have a side business and so forth, because they don't feel like pharmacy is sustainable in the future. Because a lot of the small pharmacy businesses are closed or are being bought by CVS or different companies. And they foresee that probably in the future we may have machinery folks doing pharmacy work. So they're a little bit concerned about their future. What do you have? I guess you have any insights about that, or?
Yeah. So there's one thing that you have to understand, and most people never understood this, right? If you have a job, regardless whether it's pharmacy, whatever it is,
right?
So this is a general message to everyone. If you have a job, you have one boss, and that boss can wake up one day and decide that they don't need you anymore.
Exactly.
That's a fact of life, right? Exactly. So don't overthink the fact that, oh, can machines replace my job? Your boss can replace job.
Exactly.
Not even the machine. Okay?
That's a good point.
What you need to be focused on is, once again, the post that you referred to, which you were sharing, I said that individuals who are saving $1,000 and then paying off debt, they are now realizing that that advice was not the best advice. It's because everyone is told to focus on debt.
Right.
Okay. There's a statement that I like to share. I like to say that poor and middle class people are told to pay off all their debt. Meanwhile, rich and wealthy people are borrowing money and raising capital to build more wealth.
And raising funds every day.
It's so crazy. Like, and for me, I don't pay attention to what poor people do because I don't want to be in that bucket, right?
That's so true. It's true.
I don't. So I just focus on rich people.
Right.
Mark Zuckerberg, you go look, did Facebook take on debt? Yes. Jeff Bezos, did Amazon take on debt? Yes. Bill Gates, did Microsoft take on debt? Yes. So what, wait, okay, if people are telling me debt is bad and wealthy people are borrowing money and growing their businesses exponentially, clearly I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to pay attention to the rich and wealthy people, right?
Yes.
So I say all of that to say that shift your focus from debt to cash flow. What do I mean by cash flow? Cash flow means that you need to have ways to bring in income. If your income covers all of your expenses, most people don't realize debt is an expense. It's something that's owed every month, right? It's part of your expenses, right? Like, you know, I have a bill due, right? I have some debt payments due. So it's an expense. If your income covers all of your expenses, you don't need to worry. But the problem is that people, the only income that people have is tied to a job, and that job is determined by the person who hired you.
Right.
And that individual, right, if the economy is changing or whatever is happening, they can, or they don't like you.
They don't like you for whatever reason.
Which happened to me, and that's a whole different story. Right. If they don't like you, they can sabotage you or they can find a way to get you out.
Right.
So what you need to be focused on is not debt, it is cash flow. And I say this over and over again. If you focus on cash flow, ways to, you know, generate income, you will never have to worry. Especially if your income that you're generating covers all of your expenses. Many people are like, I don't want debt. I'm like, give me cash flow, which covers all of my debt expenses, and I don't care the amount of debt that I owe.
Gotcha.
Yes, because if the payments are being paid by your income,
Right.
what's the problem? There's
That's
no
true.
problem.
That is so true.
Right.
I guess they worry a little bit about the interest rates and stuff.
It doesn't matter because there's income coming in regardless of the interest rates.
That is true.
Cash flow is paying down the debt, so the interest doesn't matter.
That is very true.
Matters when you cannot afford the.
That's very true. That's a very good point.
Yeah. People are focused on the wrong thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, you said it all, and you've been saying it since we started. It's a mindset and a behavior thing that we just need to change our focus and dive in a little bit more in the cash flow area.
Absolutely, because 90% of personal finance scare people into focusing on just that. It's a fear thing. They use statements like, "You are in debt."
You're in it.
Yes.
You're trapped.
Yo, they want to make you feel like, Charlie, you are stuck. Right? Yeah. Oh, wow. It's so sad when I see that kind of mental games played. They make people feel like they are carrying heavy burdens of debt and they cannot breathe and it's
lack of information, and I'm glad you're doing this so we can use this recording to share with our platform, and hopefully people will understand. You took some time to share this knowledge with us, which is amazing. So hopefully people who are interested in your tutoring will definitely follow up and seek more advice and pursue different things, especially now. I think people are realizing their normal behavior and patterns are not necessarily what's going to keep them afloat and be happy because anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. And once you have the right structure in place, I think you'll be good to go. Yeah, so for the people who are listening that kind of want to reach out, I like to say that most of my social media platforms, my direct messages, I communicate with anyone, right? So Instagram and Facebook, it's just Investing Tutor, right? Investing Tutor, you'll be able to find me there. For individuals who are interested in the private tutoring, the website is pleasehelpmeinvest.com.
I like that.
Yeah. I like to keep things simple.
Simple, very simple, straightforward. Not complex at all, very straightforward.
No, because if you make things complicated, you slow down the ability to get money. So
it's a full circle, right? Thank you so much. It's been an hour. We thank you for your time again. I hope you're being safe, your family, everybody.
Yeah.
And we want things to still go on. I think a lot of people are panicking, but there's still life. There's going to be life after the COVID situation. So we're going to take it one day at a time.
Yeah. And thanks for this opportunity. I think I enjoyed, just this recording. Please send me a copy of this as well, because I'd love to share it with my audience. And I know, what's it called? Zoom typically sends it to you. So you can send it to me. Don't worry about editing it. I'll be able to edit it myself and
awesome.
share this with my audience. So if they send you that notification this evening and you want to share with me, I'd really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Hens. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure is mine.
Bye.
Bye-bye.